Welcome back to Beyond the Cage, everyone. I'm Gabe Benchamal. Apologies for the lack of uploads. We really didn't have any electricity for the past week. It was pretty much out from one Friday to the next Friday, and we got it back luckily. And we were the only room in our building that didn't have electricity, so it was pretty weird. And then on top of that, I got sick, so I missed out on all the UFC 295 fun. So overall, it's been a pretty past 10 days. The thing is, I did want to cover UFC 295. However, the time that this video is going to go up, no one's going to really care. The event's long gone in people's eyes, and people are moving on to December. And so Mike, because today we're talking about Mr. Rocky Leon Edwards. He's fighting in a month versus Colby Covington for his welterweight title. But the thing is, recently he's come out and said that he wants to fight the winner of Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. That's in January. And that kind of begs the question of what makes a champion deserving to immediately fight the champion of the next division, up or down. Because if you look at all the previous examples, it's all over the place. You got to take it on the case-by-case basis. Because when you had Conor McGregor going up, he was immediately fighting Rafael dos Anjos, but he got injured. Then Nate Diaz filled in on short notice and pulled off the upset of a lifetime. They had the rematch and Conor won, but the UFC wanted to keep riding the Conor McGregor hype train, and rightfully so they decided to book a lightweight title fight versus Eddie Alvarez. And then Conor McGregor became the first UFC double champion. But then you had Daniel Cormier and Amanda Nunes go up after defending their title multiple times. They were able to capture the title against seemingly really difficult opponents in Stipe Miocic and Chris Cyborg. And they knocked out both of their opponents in the first round, so it made the double champ performance even sweeter. And then you have kind of the anomaly Henry Cejudo coming around. Prior to Cejudo going up to bantamweight, TJ Dillashaw actually went down to flyweight to try his hand at Henry Cejudo's flyweight title, but the weight cut was way too rough and Henry Cejudo knocked him out in the first round. And then the subsequent EPO scandal came around and TJ Dillashaw was forced to vacate his title. At bantamweight, there was only really one contender in Marlon Moraes, and the UFC liked the idea of Henry Cejudo moving up to bantamweight, so it was a match made in heaven. And then Henry Cejudo made Marlon Moraes bend a knee for Triple C. So I kind of just recapped how all the double champions got their second title, and all these scenarios are very case by case. But let's take a look at what actually happens to the division when a champion decides to move up. First off, it stunts the progression of both weight classes, and more often than not, it creates an interim title situation. Now, most interim titles are warranted, and it actually helps two fighters get more popularity because they're in an actual title fight. But then you get those really weird situations like what we have right now with Tom Aspinall, John Jones, and Stipe Miocic, because we have literally no clue who's fighting who in the next 6 months. But in terms of the welterweights, Leon has a well ways away of clearing out his own division. The UFC only let Volkanovski move up to 155 because he absolutely battered Brian Ortega, the Korean Zombie, and Max Holloway in less than a year's time frame. I really love Leon as a fighter and a champion because he has that kickboxing style, which I really enjoy, but I think he really needs to rack up some more title defenses. Leon only has 2 title victories, and they're both over the same guy. I think he would have to absolutely embarrass Colby Covington in front of the Las Vegas crowd to even give him a chance at fighting for a middleweight title right now. Also, you kind of have to be in the UFC's good graces to move up to a higher weight class as a champion to fight the champion. And the thing is, Leon hasn't always been the UFC's little darling. He was kind of like a forgotten son that capitalized on his one moment in time and really showed the world that he belonged. Because up until that headshot dead kick, he was not a super active fighter, and then COVID screwed him multiple times with matches with Khamzat Chimaev, and then the eye poke with Bilal Muhammad happened, and then he almost got knocked out by Nate Diaz. But luckily for Leon, the UFC gave him a title shot because Kamaru Usman had cleared out the entire division. And then we all know what happened after that. Fortunately for Leon, it proves that it wasn't a fluke victory and beats Usman again. Then we get to the UFC 286 post-fight press conference with Dana White. A media member asks who's next for Leon Edwards, and he says Colby Covington. And Dana White had no idea how much of a nightmare he was about to get into. Leon immediately rejected Colby Covington as the next challenger for the title. They tried to book it in July when there was an event in London. Didn't end up happening. But finally, the UFC came to an agreement with all parties involved, and here we have the UFC 296 main event. So it's safe to say Leon hasn't been the easiest to work with. And the thing is that there are a lot of contenders waiting in the wings for a title shot. Bilal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov if he beats Wonderboy Thompson at UFC 296. If he beats Covington, Muhammad, and Rakhmonov, then for sure he'd be able to move up to middleweight. There's no doubt in my mind that the UFC would not want to do that. I personally don't think that it's fair to the other contenders that are waiting in the wings for a title shot because you stunt the progression of your own division and the other division as well. If you want to move up or down a division and want to fight the champion, you're going to be considered a contender for that because there are other fighters that have accumulated victories in that division that are probably deserving to fight for the title. If we look at 185 right now, it's Khamzat Chimaev and maybe Jared Cannonier, and both are currently injured. However, if these injuries might take a long time to heal, the UFC might be compelled to slide Leon Edwards into that UFC 300 main event spot because that card right now is a mess and no one knows what's happening with it. The UFC used up 2 of their biggest stars in Alexander Volkanovski and Sean O'Malley right before UFC 300. If there are no contenders available to fight in the near future or when you want to fight, then it actually makes sense to move up to the division that you want to go. Dana really loves when his fighters are active, especially his champions. He and his promotion makes more money, his fighter makes more money, and it overall boosts the stock of everyone. So there could be a world where Dana White and the UFC actually grant grant him his wish. That's going to be all for today, everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate your support on the channel. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do everything to make sure that you're up to date with all the new videos that's coming out. This has been Beyond the Cage. I'm Gabe Benchimol, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.